Hey guys, this is my in-depth analysis of MURRAY'S Tauren speedpaint video that you can find on YouTube. Unfortunately, we don't have much footage of him painting, but this is one of them. This is going to be a long video. Hopefully, it'll be useful for you. I try to analyze it because I want to find out some techniques he used in order to improve my own painting and have more fun doing so. So let's go. First, as you can see here, we have the cleanest, blackest ink painting you need, or you can achieve rather. And the second stage you go over with a general loose wash. Here, the wash is actually not that loose. You can see some he goes over a line here. He goes he stays within the border here, but the rest of it is kind of actually pretty tight, as you can see here. He goes a little bit over the shadows here as well, so you can do it. The black and the shadows will change its saturation, but that's okay. He goes over the lines obviously, but the lines do not really change their saturation that much. They're not really affected by this wash, so that's another mistake. If you make your wash too thick, you're gonna lose your black lines as well. Here he does exactly that. The wash is a little bit thicker and the lines are not as pronounced anymore. There you go. Here as well. You can use wash to add dark details as well, like here in the corners, here under the guy, here in the back. He is airbrushing some loose, soft, saturated shadows, some orangish shadows in here. Hopefully you can see that. Next, he probably adds some sort of teal saturation with the brush probably. He is airbrushing some background. That might be airbrush or maybe brush, we don't know. Here in the background, and you can see some of the foot catches this cool greenish bluish gray as well, but that's all right, that's fine actually. Look here as well, shoulder catches some of that dark background color, but that's totally fine here as well. He's airbrushing some more blacks where needed, like here in the corners. There you go. Here, yeah, then he picks an object to work on and he goes for it. There you go. He mostly stays within those lines he drew here, like so. But at the same time, even though it's clean, he goes loose some places, like here. I've highlighted here. You see there are no lines in here, but he still goes here. Here is kind of loose in here and here. It doesn't really matter because you will fix it later. Then the most interesting part, he colors, he blocks in his hair. He picks the base color, which may look something like this, and he picks his highlight. Keep in mind that highlight is not simply adding white to your base color, because if you add white to your base color like here, you will end up with this pale skin tone, which is not very good. It will look fake, it will look amateurish, it will not look very good. Instead, you shift the hues. I will show you what is shifting the hues mean. Let's say you want your you have this base color, this orangish here. You want to add a highlight. So you don't simply add white to it, because it will look bland, believe me. It will look bad. What you have to do is shift the hues towards, let's say, towards yellow, or in the other direction here. Let's say shift it slightly towards yellow and slightly up. And there you go. We've ended up with very subtle, maybe make it a little bit more pronounced, maybe even more. There you go. And this is how you get a saturated, you see, it's almost the same as he painted it here. Look here. So this is how you get your amazing highlights. And this is what exactly what he did here. He picked this highlights yellowish and went over on top of the color. Hardly any soft edges when you paint your color, as we will see in our next slides. As little dry brushing as possible. Maybe a little bit here and here, but that's not certain. I'm not certain about that. Highlights, on the other hand, very often have smooth edges, as we will see later as well. Highlights are kind of smooth here. Take a look at that. You see the smooth transitions? And the smoother they are, the nicer usually your painting looks. He picks his next object to paint, which is his shoulder. He mixes the color, he goes for it. As you can see, not every black line like here is lost, because I believe he uses this color transparently, and where he knows he will have no black lines, he goes fully opaque with it. Here we have a little bit of soft edge transition slash transparent usage of the color, but it's not very, it's not everywhere. You have to, take it in moderation. It can make your painting look very bad or very good, And he picks, he goes on to paint the rest of the arm here. Then again, he slightly covers the black lines, not fully covering them, retaining some information like here, 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 and adjusting the values, which is very important. It is the most important thing. Values make your painting look impressive. Right kind of values. He goes on with softening the shadow here with some transparency and maybe a little bit of soft edge. The way you achieve soft edge is while the paint is still wet, you go on with a clean brush and you soften the edge. All right, so values über alles. Values are very important. So he adjusts the values with his main color. Still retain some information. That's very good. No need to cover all that hard work you've invested into the lines. Highlights are surprisingly very similar to the highlights on the arm, highlights on the hair as well. Color picking tool says that the color is a little bit different, but I'm not really sure. The next step is kind of interesting. He sort of gets rid of the black shadows here. Take a look. He takes the saturated orange color. He applies it on top of the black shadows, and the shadows are not completely covered. Look, we still see some of the black visible through here, 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 and it instantly gives this arm a totally different look. If you simply add, let's say, base color to your black, you'll get this muddy color, which is not going to make a very good shadow. Instead, you need to experiment and find ways to make your colors more saturated if it's required, because it's not always required. It's not always for the best. He also applies a little bit of highlights, which instantly pops the arm out of the canvas. Not very informative here, but also seems like a transparent usage of a base color for the elbow. Lines are not fully covered. No real soft edges here as well. And interesting thing about the nose is you can see a little bit of the wash shining through the nose here and in the ear here. Here the wash is not completely covered, as you can see here on below the horn, on the back side of the horn, lowest part of the horn. The wash is still visible. He's not covered it, and also seems like wash shines through on top of the horns here. You see that wash? It seems like it shines through at the edge of the horn, which also looks good because if it only was this top base color, the picture wouldn't look as good as professional, trust me. Here and here, it seems like the wash is still visible. He uses those transparent glazes. Here, nice, interesting move. He decides to add some more information. He uses saturated black. He's not very concerned about that. It's not a big deal because not much work has been done on these legs, only lines and loose washes. So he's okay with that. And take a look how much more saturated this new black is compared to the old black, which he has already covered quite a lot of times with different glazes. He glazes, he goes on with this knee here. First of all, he glazes the shadow with red, making it more saturated, leaving some information, preserving some of the black lines here, but they are very, glazed over, I would say. He goes a little bit on top of the hoof as well. Here, it may be the quality of the image, but seems like this base wash has a little bit of green, grayish bit in here. And while painting, he retains some of that greenish wash still visible, which is amazing. I think, look, this red knee, this red, whatever it is, pant, and this green underwash. This is what makes those Simon Bisley, this is like their signature move, like guys like Simon Bisley, Jim Murray, they love to do that. You have to experiment with that. They love to go with crazy colors, shining through the top base coat. It looks amazing. He goes on with darkening or glazing the red on top of this brownish wash here. And also he goes, and I've indicated it with number 2s and arrows, he goes on with quick highlight. I believe he did it while the glaze was still wet, so he could easily go and make it very quick and make very cool soft edges around this, folds. He goes on to paint this this part right here. He also retains some of the brownish underwash, and he goes for the lazy highlight simply by adding white to this base green color. It looks kind of okay right now, but as you will see later, he will deal with that as well. He darkens this bit over here. He airbrushes some red into the shadows and into the shadow here. It makes it more saturated, less black. He goes on with a dark airbrush behind on the back of the leg here. He goes on with airbrushing black, roughly airbrushing black over the hoof, creating this cavities and a rough surface for this hoof. Then there you go. He shifts the hues to create a nice yellowish highlight. And he goes on top of the highlight that was like a lazy highlight, quote unquote, that was here before. But some of it still remains, and I think it's amazing. It's like he mixes highlights, yellowish with whitish. It's kind of cool. So also he goes with soft desaturated highlight on the hoof. Take a look. He's not painting over this random splash. He will later on capitalize on it and use it as a way to indicate this rough surface with crooks and cavities and whatnot. He goes for a quick base color application on top of this wash here. This base color is slightly higher value than the base wash. Nothing interesting here. He goes on to soften the shadow, the edge of the shadow. He goes on to add this little intricate detail here, this little intricate light. He goes on to capitalize on that chaotic cavities with some highlights, as you can see here. It looks amazing. I don't think you can see that from this distance. Nothing interesting here. We don't have much information. He goes on to work on the knuckles. Black is heavily covered by a sort of saturated shadow color like this one here with this brownish, dark brown color here, making it more saturated. Here on top of the knuckles, you can see this black is kind of very, pronounced. What he does here is he picks the color that he thinks will be good for this his fingers, and he glazes it on top of the black. He still retains some of the blacks in here, some of the blacks in here, but they sort of turn to, you see this grayish, desaturated, greenish, nice, amazing knuckles. And he goes with a little bit of highlight on top. There you go. Not much soft edges here, just quick, professional. Soft edges can make your painting look very bad and very good at the same time. If not used correctly, they make your painting look very bad, obviously. Here, just quick, professional, no soft edges. You see, only hardcore edges. Nothing interesting happening here, not much information here. He paints, he goes, I think he highlights his fingers a little bit, and he paints a finger here. He is saturating this shadow with dark red and using the airbrush, probably saturating the shadow of the finger a little bit. I'm not sure. I think it's better this way, I guess, because this is kind of desaturated. If you ask me, he indicates blood, I guess. You see a lot of it goes onto the foot of this dwarf guy, but it's amazing. It will, as we will see later, he puts some of the red on the background here and on the green piece of cloth here, slightly desaturating the cloth, actually, the green cloth, because red on top of the green will desaturate it a little bit. It's not very clear, but it seems like he added a little bit of green to the color of this arm piece, and some of the green actually leaked into the arm, but it's amazing. It's absolutely fine. This is why we love guys like Jim Murray and Simon Bisley, because they do this kind of stuff and they can pull it off and it looks amazing. Now, next cool step, take a look at this. Take a look at this crevice, this black line here. You see how he beautifully desaturates the line. He adjusts the value of it. You see, it's very subtle, very realistic, but he uses the highlights or the color of this part to desaturate it. It's amazing. He's not fully covering it. He'll leave some of it showing underneath, but nevertheless, it's a very cool trick. There you go. He applies some base color for the boots and some subtle highlights. We can see that here in this circle, if I may zoom in, we can see some of the greenish, yellowish underwash shines through. Same as here, this reddish on the heel, it still shines through, and it gives this amazing color variation within one piece. It looks amazing. And he also saturates the face a little bit. Take a look at this face. It's very kind of monochromatic here. It's not very good. Lighting is not very good in this one, but here it's more orangish, reddish in the nose and in the cheekbones. So it looks way, way better. Wash used as the base color for the helmet and simple highlight plus simple highlight. You see here, it barely changes because he uses the highlight, or excuse me, the wash as the main color of this shoulder piece. He simply adds a little bit of highlight in this region and in this area, and there you go. There you go. He adds a little bit of highlights on the boots to define it better. We don't really see what's happening in here, but probably the same. Not really informative here. Here as well. He adds some highlights on the skin here and here. Some of the base wash visible below. Again, it's not very clear, but on the back of the tricep here, he leaves some of the base wash. Again, with the shoulder piece, he leaves a lot of the base wash to act as a base color, only adding some highlights in the areas he needs. I think this is a very quick, very economic, easy, lazy way of doing things. It looks amazing. Here, he knows first of all, take a look at this wash. This wash here is the color of the skin, and here it's gradually changes into this grayish cool color. He knows his beard will be white, so and then the shadow of the white is usually grayish, so he leaves this wash gray to go white on top, and for it to become a lighter version of gray, creating this amazing amazing beard. Look at that, those soft transitions, they look amazing. The grayish wash acts as a future shadow for the beard, and this wash as well, this brownish wash, take a look here. We can see a little bit of this brownish wash shining through, and that's amazing. This is what makes art of Jim Murray amazing. Now, the light here goes on top of the black line, not under the black line. That's a mistake, at least I always do. We have to understand that. It sort of replaces the outline, the black outline. And reflected light goes into the shadow and tries to devour the core shadow. There you go. That's a finishing touch. Always makes your painting look super finished, super polished, and totally make them look good. Look, they look amazing. All right, that's it. Hope you was able to get some useful info, to learn something useful, and hope you'll have fun painting. See you guys.